Good evening, everyone. My name is Mateen Jaffer. I see at least out of the 6 people here. I've seen them before and attended my class before, but I'll still give a little bit of my introduction. Mateen Jaffer. I have been doing those sessions here at the Saline Library for about 6 months or so. I've done similar sessions at the Ann Arbor Public Library for the last 14 years, as long as I have my business. I go in once in 3 months or once in 6 months and do those sessions at the library and try to bring as many folks who can come in and physically take a look to see what are the security threats in general for computers, where are the people getting hacked or getting pop-ups and other things, and some of the basic things that they should really get to know how to maintain their computer, maintenance as far as making sure that they have the proper security software on them and make sure that they're properly run those applications. And if they do get calls or pop-ups, how do they handle some of those things? So I've been doing all these for several, like I said, about 10, 12 years at the Ann Arbor Public Library, and I get more and more calls, more and more people coming in and telling me about the same thing. It's like, hey, I got this problem, and I took up on me as far as my civic service to say I need to go out and teach people and tell them what is it that will prevent them from getting into this situation. And so my goal is really to give you as many tools as I can to show you, teach you, and also leave you with my contact information, just in case if you ever have a question what we talked about, and you can always call me up or come back. And we always have the session here. I think we've set up maybe about 6 to 8 sessions in 4 months time frame here at the library. So we keep frequently doing that. So so what I was going to talk about is giving you a little bit of the overview. I did the introduction. We're going to look a little bit about the tech support scam, either calls or pop-ups. These would be a situation where you see something on your screen, a pop-up saying there's a problem, call this number, or you get a phone call. And so we would be trying to figure out what are the things you would look to analyze and say, oh, this is a pop-up call. So I want you to kind of, hopefully you'll pick up one of the two and say, this seems like the setup that Mateen was talking about. This seems to be a pop-up, this seems to be a scam. So I'm just going to try to see what the Mateen was talking about, reactions to some of those calls or pop-ups that I see. What should I be doing? And then actually the biggest and the greatest part that people love about me doing those things is actually showing you in action as to what are the specific things you can do that don't really require anything from you to pay, besides having your own protection software, which you may have to pay a subscription or you may get one for free. We'll try to do a little conclusion at the end. I do want everyone to be able to just raise your hand and ask me a question, or if I tell you that let's go ahead and ask a question, and if at that moment, if you want to ask me a question, if it's relevant, I'll try to immediately answer that. If it's can be delayed a little bit, deferred to the next slide or something, I'll let you know. Start off with, there is this increased trend of people getting all those pop-up screens and pop-up and then phone calls. 3 of the worst case scenario that I've seen in the last 2 years where individuals that use computers, they were at financial loss. That means that start off with a phone call to all the different steps, and eventually the individual end up paying money or giving them their bank account, and they kind of half wiped out their account, and then they had to run back to the police to figure out what should be done now, go to the bank, close down their bank accounts, change over. They weren't, I don't know exactly what happened, but in the beginning they were not able to recover the money that I know. And then of course the problem with the computer, that it got all hacked in and infected. So that's the worst case scenario. That was just a quick glimpse of some of those things that are happening. As far as it starts off with either pop-up or phone call, and if you listen to them long enough and you engage in conversation with them, as far as the phone call is concerned, they will get you more and more into it. They're so convincing from Microsoft, And in some cases, you might be having a minor issue, and you thought that, oh, okay, I got someone who's going to help me. That's not happening. Same thing with a pop-up coming up, and the entire screen is filled up, and now you have no way of getting it out. So it's like, okay, how do I get out of this so I can get back into what I was doing? And there's no way to close the screen, and so you kind of feel pressure to call. And as soon as you make a phone call, the first 5-10 minutes of conversation is really talk about the problems that you're having. And then they somehow get into your computer where you don't even realize. It's like, when did you realize that they were in? It's like, I didn't even know until they were showing me all the things, and that's when I know that they were in my computer. Yes?
Can you just shut the computer off and shut them off if you shut it off for a few minutes?
If you shut off your computer, then they're off. They're no longer in. You're saying,
the quickest thing is just go boop.
Yeah, but the ideal situation should be that you don't get to the point where they're in your computer, and that's what I'm hoping that we talk a little bit about it. So the best case scenario is where you recognize as soon as you get a call, you recognize with a few of the things that I will talk about, and say, oh, this is a scam. So you'll just literally say, not interested, thank you, hang up. So that would be the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you were a victim, that you listened to them, they were convincing, they got into the situation where they're in your computer, and while they're in, they put all kinds of different lockups and everything else on your computer, and then they talk about the money part, and you say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, but guess what? It's too late in some cases because they already implanted something bad. And if they're nasty, then they lock you out. And that's my next piece right there, is you become victim, you got hacked, they put some malware spyware in it, and then if they're nasty, it doesn't happen with everybody, but then they lock you out means that they will do something, and then next time you restart your computer, you have the lock, and it says password, and you say, I never put a password, but I did allow somebody else to get in. Well, guess what? They locked you out now. Your financial information, your personal information has been compromised, and worst case scenario is you have hundreds or thousands of dollars of loss that happen, among all these. Not to mention, you have to go back and change your bank account and everything else, and credit card and all that. So my really goal is to keep you in a best case scenario where you recognize, and you say, okay, I recognize it, and I have some of the steps that I need to do, and I should be fine after that. If you get a phone call about anything in general, we're talking about computers right now here, but you've heard of DTE scam, IRS scam, and all kinds of different scams. So I'm really not here to talk about those, but in general, you are getting a phone call. That's your first thing. It's like they're calling you and telling you that you have a problem. Number one, it's a red flag. You say, okay, this is a scam. I'm not going to listen to that. I'm just going to not do anything and not going to talk to that person. And in some cases, they'll say, well, we'll let the call go to the voicemail if you don't recognize the phone number, for example. The other thing is, remember, they're calling you. In the case of call, they're calling you. You're not calling them for help. So that's another big thing. It's like, okay, they're calling me. So why are they calling me? What is it in for them? What's the motivation? They claim to be from one of those big name company. Microsoft is a pretty popular one because if they call you and then you have majority of the computer user will have the Microsoft application or Windows on it. So they start off with the Microsoft tech support or something similar that they would say. They will be telling you something about that you're sending off error messages, you're sending off spam, or your Windows. Recently, I got another one that's saying that your Windows is expired. There's no such thing as Windows being expired, right? So again, they try to just scare you for some of those things. Also, they want to show you the problem. Again, remember, they're not talking about money part of it up front. They're just going to tell you, let me show you where your problem is. Let me see, let me show you that. And if you allow them to show, that's when you're saying, get into my computer and show me. They will tell you to do something like Windows R and type some of those commands and show you all kinds of different problems that your computer has. So the other would be a pop-up getting into your computer, right? So you have a screen full, and it would say something from PC or Apple computer, and it will look like it is from Microsoft, Apple. It will take your entire screen, and it will freeze your computer, or seems like frozen computer. Yes?
If if they freeze your computer, how long before the freeze comes off? In other words, if you shut it off, unplug it, and go back in a day or 2 days, is it gone?
No. Number one, how do you know it's frozen? You could have a computer, a problem, and you may get a blue screen, and it may get your screen that's completely populated, the entire screen. And if it happens, and if you restart and it doesn't come back in, then we're fine. But if it happens again and again and again, then we have a problem. The other thing is that it directs you to a phone number. If you have a problem, a real problem, and it completely covers your entire screen, the last thing it wants to give you is a phone number. It will not give you a phone number. So if you see a phone number, a big phone number, and I'll have a couple examples, that's a big, again, a flag that, okay, it's a scam. And message will almost always will say something like, call immediately, you're at risk, and it will completely populate your whole screen. And you have no way of getting out using a keyboard and mouse. So either case, they'll ask you to install a program or something to fix the computer. This will happen if you keep on engaging with them as far as asking them questions. Why do you think this is the case? Or what should I do? They will get into that. I don't want anyone to be able to get to the situation where they will install something. They will always pose this as this is a really urgent matter. And they will also have you buy the yearly or lifetime support package, anywhere from $300 to $500. Other thing you can also notice, as soon as you receive a phone call, and you get a lot of noisy background. Background is really noisy. And you have someone with a thick foreign accent. And sometimes foreign, there we go, okay, I heard. So Western name, so they'll have a foreign accent, it'll be noisy, and you'll have someone. So these are just some flags. And say, okay, call is coming in, a lot of background noise, and they're telling you it's from Microsoft or other company. They may tell you their name, if you're able to understand it with their foreign accent. So all those things are happening, right? This is just a way for you to identify, oh, there is a scam going on right now. I'm not going to fall for it. I'm just going to go ahead and hang up. So what are the don'ts about it, right? In general, we've talked a lot about it. So we're not going to talk to the caller at all. That would be the very first thing, if you can, is just to hang up. For some people, it's not easy to just do that. And if you see a pop-up number show up on your screen, you're not going to call the number. You're not going to click on any of the links. You're not going to give your bank information. You're not going to ask any question. You're just going to tell them, not interested. Doesn't matter how grave of a situation that they're going to put you in. Don't follow caller's direction or instructions, or click on any of the links. Don't believe it is. It's really a scam. It's all fake. And we're not going to give access of our computer to the user, the caller. What we're going to do is, when we have a situation like that, is to stop, take a breath, don't panic. That's the very first thing, because you have this emotion that, like, oh my God, something is going to happen to my computer. You just need to take a moment. Turn off your computer. And if you have no idea how to do that, if your screen is completely covered with this pop-up, locate a power switch on your computer. You know where the power switch is, right, on your computer? Hold it for 10 seconds, and trust me, your computer should shut off. You could do a couple other things before that. For example, I could show you, if I did a Control-Alt-Delete on my computer, this is what I would see. This is if I press Control, Alt, and Delete. If you look at your keyboard, kind of locate those three keys, and if you see them, if you press them all three together, that's the kind of message and that's the kind of screen I get. So if I'm in a situation where my screen is completely covered, can't do anything with it at all, I will try to do Control-Alt-Delete and see if it responds. If it responds, then I know my computer is not frozen. And now I can look in, and I can go into what's called Task Manager. And when I bring up my Task Manager, this is what it would look like. And it would tell me everything that I'm doing. If I click on that and click on End Task, right there, it will kill my Google Chrome. And if you guys want to try it, hopefully you won't get to that point, but if you don't want to try it, run a program and then get to your Task Manager and kill from there. That pop-up screen will go away. You don't even have to shut down the computer. You also want to see if you can talk to someone trustworthy. Hey, I had this pop-up. Hey, I had a phone call. What do you think it was? What do you think I should do? Should I worry about it? Should I take my computer for repair? Anything and everything. But anything you do, do not talk to those caller, or do not allow the links on the screen or the phone number to follow through. You can call us with any time, with any question. Hey, I got this situation. What do I do? So we would be able to, hopefully, if it's something simple, we go ahead and then guide you through it also. This is one of the pop-up. It's kind of a little older, but you see how, what's the biggest thing we see here? The phone number. If we try to search images on Google to say, show me the pop-up screen, and you'll see all kinds of variation of those pop-ups. From that to FBI to all kinds of different problems. And every single one you look, they all have one way or the other, have some sort of phone number for you to call. There's another example. In here, the phone number is not that easy to locate, but kind of giving you a full screen. There is no option for you to get out or do anything. There's another one I have. There's another one. Now this one has to do with Apple. So same thing with Apple. Some Apples do get these kind of pop-ups. We kind of have a general idea, right? As far as if you get a call, if you see a pop-up, we're not going to be scared. We're not going to be confused. We're not going to allow them to talk us into do any of the steps. The things we're going to do is we're going to close the pop-up immediately if we do get pop-up. If we don't, or if we have a call coming in, you still want to go ahead and shut down the computer. You hang up the call, you shut down, restart, and you can go through a few of the things that say, okay, is that something going on with my computer? So let's take the example of the pop-up. So you had a pop-up, right? So I just showed you how you would shut down your browser using Control-Alt-Delete, or shut down the computer fully by using your power switch on your computer and restart your computer. The first thing that I want people to be able to go back and do is really to make sure they have their data backed up. So your documents, pictures, bookmarks, music. I promise that this time I'm going to do a little different, so I'll show you where those files are located in general. So I'm using Windows 10 here. If you have Windows 7, it's similar. But you want to bring up your File Explorer. You browse through your users, and then locate your username. So in my case, I have Jaffer as my username, my account. So locate yours. And once you locate it, this is where everything should be. Your contacts, your desktop, your downloads, documents, music, pictures, videos, anything you store in general, they all should be in this folder. So when I talk about backing up your files, you really are literally copying the entire user folder called Jaffer in my case, and save it in external drive, or save it in cloud, or wherever you want to save it. That's what we talk about, back up your data. We do have another session coming up for cloud backup where I go a lot more extensively as far as how you back up your stuff from your computer to your flash drive, and I go step by step how to do that. Or you can back up all this stuff into the cloud if you have cloud services like iCloud or any other backup company that you use, and I would use one of mine that we do, and I'll show a few of those things of how you would do those backup in the cloud as opposed to doing a local drive. But right now, just learn that you have critical files on your computer, and that's the location. Starts off from your computer. You double click on C drive, you will double click on your user, and then you'll locate your name of the folder. Don't worry about any other folders or files. The next thing we want to do is, how many people know what browser that you are using? The name, would you know? So you're using Google Chrome. Okay. So in the case of Google Chrome, that's mostly what people are using here. Let's quickly look to see what should be done. So I have my notes up there that says reset or refresh your internet browser. So Firefox uses a term called refresh. Google Chrome uses a term called reset. Microsoft Edge probably uses something similar. So we can go ahead and then try to do one right now, which would be the Google Chrome, and we'll see how we would reset or refresh our browser. That's really critical because imagine your pop-up that's coming in, that's really is, the source is the browser. So something bad came through to the browser, made the screen to pop up and allowed it. So what we need to do is really fix the browser. That's the number one thing. And guess what? If you make a mess, if you corrupt something, guess what we did? We already backed up our files. So we would be in good shape. It's like my files are all saved. All the critical files are all saved. Now anything I do here, 99.9% you will not mess up anything because we're only are dealing with the browser here. So let's say this is my Google Chrome. You start off with these three dots. Do you see them? It's kind of really small. All the way to the upper right hand side, just under the X, there are three dots. It's called Customize and Control Google Chrome. So if I click on this little icon, I get the whole menu. And from there, we will click on Settings. And then from here, we'll come up to the other menu called, this is the main menu. And this is going to be on your upper left-hand side. Three dotted lines. If I click on it, it'll give me another menu. And I'll go back and I will click on Advanced. And then scroll down. And there is my option called Reset. Everybody sees it? Mm-hmm. So if I click on this button right now, it will ask me, restore setting to the original default. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring the browser back to the way it was original, except for all your passwords, all the forms, and everything else that you have saved. It's not gone. It's just going to take some of the settings of the browser, and it's going to set it as default. And if I click on it, it's kind of really small, but I'll go ahead and read this. It said, this will reset your startup page, new tab page, search engine, and pin tabs. It will also disable all extensions and clear temporary data like cookies. Your bookmarks, history, and saved password will not be cleared. So you hit reset right here, and it will reset those information. So search engine, how many people are familiar, understand the search engine concept? No? So in general, there are a lot of search engines, but the popular one is Google. Google itself is a search engine. Bing is another search engine. Firefox is similar. Microsoft Edge also has steps to do. And what I suggest, because of the time, we can't really do all of those. What I would do is I would go to YouTube, and I would just type the keyword refresh Internet Explorer, refresh Microsoft Edge, or refresh Firefox, or Google Chrome, and you will see a bunch of videos show up, and they're only about a minute or 2 minutes long. And you just watch them. If you watch 2 or 3, it'll give you a step-by-step as to how to do it. But the idea here is to refresh your browser. That's the first thing that I would like to do after I have my backup done. The next thing that I would like to do is see if there's additional browser data that's still sitting in. And start from the same place, the 3 dots on the upper right-hand side. And this time I'll go to More Tools. And from More Tools, I can find this option called Clear Browsing Data. So you are browsing a site, and one way or the other, some browser site with some links got in, and then you clicked on it, or it got into your computer, into the browser. You want to get that browsing data cleared up. You don't want to have that in it. And every time you go to the next site, so let's say you did all of that, that doesn't mean your Gmail stuffs are gone. When you click on gmail.com, it will download all the stuff again. So you click on clear browsing data, and it will give you an option right here. It will ask you clear the following item from, and here you can pick. You want it past hour, past day, week, last 4 weeks, or the beginning of time. So beginning of however long you've been using your browser. I would always go myself and say beginning of time. And what am I going to clear? I can tell it I want the browsing history, I want the download history, I want the cache, image, and files, cookies, all of that to be cleared with the checks. But I am telling them to not touch my passwords, so uncheck that. Autofill data, I'm saying leave it alone. If I have hosted apps for cloud printing or Gmail or others, I'll say go ahead and clear them out, because when I go back, I'll be able to get them back in. And media license if I had any, which I don't have any. So when I have those items selected, I would hit clear browsing data, and it would clear all of it out for you. It's a good idea if you use a public computer, and if it doesn't have the good security stuff, you can go back and see if you can clear this out from a public computer. If you have to use it, if you don't have to use it, if you don't do your personal stuff, then you can leave it alone. So we learned to do clearing our browser data. Firefox users and Microsoft Edge users, they will probably want to do the same thing. If they could do a Google, not just Google search, YouTube search. Because Google search will take you all over the places, but YouTube will hopefully just take you to some of the videos from folks and users and companies to, you may have a Google Chrome themselves having a video on there to show you how to reset some of those stuff on it, or the Firefox, right? The last thing I have is you wanted to see if you can update your browser or reinstall your browser. And let me show you how you would do that again. It's in the same section as we were before, the 3 dots on the upper right hand side, and you go to settings, and in here under settings on the upper left hand side, what's called About Chrome. So when I click on About Chrome, do you see that right here? It's checking. But I have to be careful. This is waiting for me to allow. Do you see that right here? So this little security shield is blinking right here for me, saying, hey, do I allow this update to happen? It doesn't know that I'm asking for it, or is it going to happen automatically by someone else. So because I am asking for it, I'm going to allow it. It says, do you want to allow this app to make change to your device? And yes, I do, because I'm asking it to go and do the update. And you would say yes. And now, if there are updates available, again, the same thing. If there are updates available, I'll get that. If I don't have any updates, or if there's a problem, which I just see right now, guess what we're going to do if we have this problem?
Call you.
No, you will just reinstall it, because that's what my note says. Either update your browser or reinstall your browser. And I'll just show you how you reinstall it. The easiest way is to just go to chrome.com, and that allows you to re-download your Chrome. And when you download, this is going to be your latest and greatest and most up-to-date browser. You'll click on it, and it will download it, install, and once the installation is completed, you relaunch your browser. I don't want to relaunch it because I'm running the presentation in the other. And then if I go back and say About Chrome, it will show me it's up to date. So we did a lot of it with the backup, and we made sure our browser is clear. You should not be getting any pop-ups in general. And phone call was really not related to your computer at all. So if you had a phone call, I would just completely ignore it. I may go back and do those steps just as a normal routine, because I go back and do that once a week, every other week, once a month. I'll run through all the steps, make sure that doesn't matter, I get a call, I don't get a call. But if you get a call and you realize that it was scam, hang up, run through a few of those checks we talked about. Make sure you have a critical data backed up, and just run through a refresh of your browser. Clear that out, and you're good to go, at least for that part. The additional steps you want to do is you want to make sure you have some sort of protection software and it's active and it's not expired. That would be your first source if you don't have any protection, is to see if your internet service provider provides you with some security software. If they do, you want to ask them, how do I get it? Directly, not to try to start a search. If you don't have that, then you could look into some of the free software. I'm not a big advocate of free software because free software, they give you limited functionality. Number one. Number two, they don't give you much control. They would scan and do whatever it is that needs to be done at that basic level, and they will give you that. And if you're technical enough, you should, and if you feel comfortable, have that. If you don't, if you want to have a little bit more comprehensive, you want to have a little bit more control as to when to do scan and how to do scan, then you want to probably get some different software. Norton is one, Bitdefender, Kaspersky. Kaspersky is not the one that I'm looking for now. But there are a bunch of different softwares out there. So what you want to do is you want to make sure your browser, your protection is up to date. And the other thing you want to do is you want to run full scan, which is what I'm proposing here, is to do your full scan, full system scan with your protecting antivirus software. And full scan would, in the case of Norton, they automatically wants to do a quick scan. So I wanted to tell it, no, I don't want to do quick, I want to do full scan. And then I would go and it would start to scan my hard drive. One more application which you can download, and that application is completely free, and that one is called Malwarebytes. And you normally would get it from malwarebytes.org. Again, I look right here to make sure it's secure. It is HTTPS. That tells me it's a secure site. If I were to do any banking, if I were to pay anything, I want to make sure it is HTTPS and it is secure. And this one tells me I'm on a Malwarebytes site, which is what I wanted to go. If I get to see something else here, that means I'm in the wrong site, or somehow I got redirected. So I want to get out of it, I want to start over. It tells you if you download the free, it's only for Windows, and it will clean infected devices, and you need to download on your Mac, or well, yeah, you would need to download it, which is the same thing. But if you get the paid version, you have a bunch of different things in here. One other thing that a lot of times people say is it does the protection all the time. It would be running all the time. It will be running in the background. So it would not be on demand. It would just be constantly running and waiting for it to happen, and you can schedule your scan. On the free one, it would not do anything. It will just be sitting and waiting for you to take action. So on the free one, you would go in, the first thing you would do is say, run an update, and then you tell it to run scan. And it would do the entire job the same way. The only difference is that one is, like I said, on demand. When you need it, you run it. Otherwise, it will not interfere, it will not do anything. The paid one is where it will do all those things automatically on the schedule, and you won't have to touch in general. It would, you're having it to do it all automatically. There are all these different variations. If your computer gets infected, normally you don't have one type of infection. You have multiple, or you have different types of infection. So if I were to do the variation, and if I were to show you, you will see Trojan, you will see virus, you will see spyware, you will see malware, and there's a bunch of more on it. And what we've seen is, for most part, antivirus software is able to take care of a lot of those, but there are some things that it's not able to capture. Some of the traces, some of the other, and in this case, it's specifically Malwarebytes, it doesn't capture it. So that's why you want to have one supplemental application. And in the industry right now, what we see, most of the computer that technical people like myself or anyone else that uses the computer to keep the computer running smooth and clean is to have a Malwarebytes on it. Malwarebytes will, like I said, it kind of supplements to your Norton. If you scan your computer with Norton, it won't find anything, for example. But if you run your scan with Malwarebytes, you'll find a bunch of stuff, bunch of traces. And if there were other things in it, it will go ahead and help you clean. So again, there are certain things that the antivirus software like Norton can pick up. Now Norton may have different products within themselves. So they have what's called Norton antivirus only. They have security suite, and then they have a Premier that includes a backup, for example. So security software would not just take care of the viruses, but all kinds of different variation of viruses that could be malware, Trojan, spyware, all those. That's what they claim to do, is to be able to handle all of it. But again, like when we use the software, we see the security software being a comprehensive one to begin with, but in general, Malwarebytes is a good product to have as a backup. And then you only run it maybe once a month, or when you see some things are popping up and slowing down. So okay, let me run my scan to see if there's anything going on in it. Okay, so how do we update it? So let me bring up. Pretty much everybody know how to install it, right? That's not a big problem. If I were to find, so here's my application that I have installed on my computer, Malwarebytes, and so here's the application fully installed, right? And this is the free one.
Okay.
Right there is your option called check for updates. And if I click on it, it will start to download updates if it needs. And once it's completed, then I can just tell it to run scan.
Great.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's simple enough. So that was my last thing up here as far as download a free copy of Malwarebytes, do updates, and run full scan. I mean, it only gives you one option to do scan. It doesn't have full or partial. So when you do the scan, also you want to make sure your Windows or Mac operating system is up to date. If you're running Windows 7, you want to make sure it's up to date. Windows 10, you want to make sure it is up to date. So let me real quick show you here, and we have time, we can go over and I can quickly show you a video of updating Windows 7. But for Windows 10, if I click on my little start button right here on my keyboard, that's the search box that comes up, and I can just type Windows updates, and here's my option that says check for updates. By the way, what I'm doing right now is just one of the 10, 15 different ways of doing the same thing. I'm going to conclude a little bit here as far as we recognize that tech support scam, right? It's whether you get a phone call or you're getting pop-up. Big pieces you're going to identify as soon as you see that. You're just going to say, I understand this is just a scam call, and I'll just go ahead and then not listen to it and move on. And some of the things that I showed you here, you're not going to call any number on a pop-up screen. We're never giving our information to strangers. We learn to refresh our browser and keep it up to date. We learn that we want to make sure our operating system is up to date. Make sure you have an active antivirus or anti-malware program. Update it and scan it. Again, my recommendation would probably be at least once a week if you could. Programs that we look at: Norton, WebRoot, Bitdefender, Malwarebytes. Malwarebytes, part of it is free. The other one is paid for, but free one would work. That would be supplemental. Always have someone in your back of mind, someone you trust for technology. So when you run into any one of those situations where you get a call or you get pop-up, you can always consult with somebody. Say, hey, I got, run it by them to see what they think. Your relative, your friend, neighbor, your local IT, whatever it is. We're around here. We've been here since 2004. If you ever have question about anything, we've been here since 2004. We physically have a location where you can walk in between 10 and 6, Monday through Saturday, call. We do all kinds of work in general, sales, service, repair, and we also, you can find us on different social media as well, Angie's List, Yelp, Google, Facebook. And I'm here, I think I need at least another 4 times in the next 2 months with other sessions that I'm doing, and then we're setting up more. So you can find me in any other session and stop me and ask me a question. That was a good question about the messenger that we need to look in and see what else can be done. But yeah.
Okay, thank
coming in, and then, yeah.